All right, let me take a look at some questions here. I don't have a whole lot of time today, so we're going to keep this short. Hang on one second. All right. Got some noise outside the office I'm trying to cut down before we keep going. We'll see if that happens or not. It's one of the realities of working at home. Sometimes there's noise in the home that can't be quickly rectified. Okay, let's see what we have here. Why am I always so mean to Mad Producer on KFAN 1000? I don't know what that means. Paul Allen. Who am I mean to? I'm mean to Nordo? I'm not mean to Nordo. I'm mean to Paul Allen. Nordo calls me every week when it's time to go on Paul Allen's show. And one thing I've noticed, about radio producers over the years, this is something I've shared with the other writers at PFT. All the people who produce radio shows want to be the one on the air. And a lot of times when they interact with the guests, it's like in that simple 5 seconds, they use their radio voice as if they were on the air. And I don't always respond to that the way that the producer would maybe hope. So maybe that's why Paul Allen thinks I'm being mean to Nordo. He's trying out his radio voice with me when he calls me up on the phone, and I just don't respond to it the way that maybe he thinks I should, because I've just got a pet peeve about radio producers who use those phone calls as a way to test out their chops on the guests for the moment when they're actually the hosts of the radio show anyway. I didn't expect to be saying that today, but so be it. PFT PM Posse, what do you feel will be the next big revolution in sports, specifically the NFL? We've had HD TV, increased games on TV, gambling, etc. over the last however many years. What do you think / hope could be next? I don't know that I hope this is going to be next, but I think what's going to be next is the explosion of in-game micro betting. And the technology is already out there to do it, even if the TV hasn't caught up with what you have on your phone. But I think we're going to see more and more states and more companies and more technologies that eventually allow us to watch a game, have that signal come through in real time, and we can place bets on the game as it's unfolding, with that 40-second lag between plays being the moment that we lock in. Whatever it is, we're going to lock in for the next play. Is it going to be a run? Is it going to be a pass? Who's going to get the ball? How many yards is he gain? Over, under, 3.5 yards for Alvin Kamara on the next rushing attempt, whatever it may be. That's what I think is going to revolutionize the way we watch football. And that's what's going to transform your home into a casino. And instead of standing at the craps table, and when you look at that felt with all those options, all those magnets for your chips, all the different things you can bet on, where the odds are calculated just in a way that you're going to lose over the long haul. They entice you. That field bet when you're playing dice. You look at all those numbers that pay off. All those numbers, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is it 2, 3, 4, 9, 10, 11, 12, whatever it is, the field bet. That's the most addictive. That's the one where you think, oh, look at all those numbers. I'm sure to win. They have it rigged just enough so you're going to lose over the long haul. Just enough. The odds are in the house's favor. You have a selection like that on your screen, on your phone. This entire menu of bets you can make one play at a time, $1 or $2 at a time. That's what I think the next big revolution is going to be. And that's another reason for the NFL to be very concerned about protecting inside information, specifically who on the sideline knows what the next play is going to be, and what are they doing to possibly signal to anyone watching in the stands or maybe watching at home that inside knowledge that they might possess. PFT PM Posse, with the evolution of the tight end position, how truly underpaid are tight ends? Should a great receiving and blocking tight end be near the top of the left tackle wide receiver market? Look, all I know is this: a great pass catching tight end should be getting paid as much as a great receiver, because a great pass catching tight end, especially one that ends up in the slot a lot of the times, that's a guy that is making a difference. That is a guy that is impacting defenses. Remember, there was a time, 2015 or so, when the big question in the NFL was, how in the hell do you stop Rob Gronkowski? What do you do? I remember leading up to week 1 of that season when the Steelers were going to New England to take on the Patriots. What do you do? What do you do? Do you put a safety on him all the time? Do you have a linebacker chip him and then have somebody else pick him up? Do you go with your best corner? Do you just double team him everywhere he goes? The Steelers in that game, if you may recall, inadvertently went with the 0-man coverage of Rob Gronkowski at one point, but a great tight end, especially one that forces defenses to adjust their game plan accordingly, should be paid like a great receiver, period. It shouldn't be driven by position. It should be driven by player. That's where the logic of the franchise tag collapses onto itself. The franchise tag sometimes, for certain players, fails to reflect what that player is worth, because that player is worth more than the position that he plays. I think it's one of the reasons Le'Veon Bell had issues with the Steelers and ultimately sat out a year. He viewed himself as a great running back and as a great pass catcher, but he was being saddled by the franchise tag for running back. So I think Travis Kelce should be getting a hell of a lot more than he's getting, and Chiefs fans are going to be upset. You're just trying to cause trouble. Well, no, I'm just trying to make sure that a guy who's a great player, who's helping his team win football games, is getting paid fairly for his efforts. Because again, the moment he's no longer producing the efforts to justify his pay is the moment that he's politely asked to pack his things and leave with a thank you on Twitter. Hey, at least they said thank you on Twitter when they told you you're no longer worth what we're due to pay you, so we're firing you. But thank you, Travis Kelce. That day is coming, unless he retires and walks away on his own. And look, that happens, but it doesn't happen nearly as often as the guy wanting to stay but being involuntarily asked to leave, with a thank you on Twitter for all that you've done. Maddie B. Well, our team's going to start treating the quarterback position the same way they treat the running back position if they don't find a Mahomes, Allen, Burrow. 4 to 5 year rookie deal, then replace the quarterback in lieu of loads of guaranteed money for the next tier, like Kirk Cousins, etc. I think we're starting to see the quarterback position separate into different tiers. And this is the argument I made 4 years ago this month to the Rams, publicly and very openly, even though I was ridiculed for it by Rams fans, by media members who were covering the Rams, Fred Rogan in particular. I remember he did an interview with Sean McVay, painting me as a moron, frankly, for suggesting that they should not give Jared Goff a second contract. And they did. And 2 years later, they gave up a first-round pick as a practical matter to unload the balance of the contract they never should have given Jared Goff. I think teams now need to accept that it's not enough to be pass-fail. You know, it used to be you're drafted, you play 4 or 5 years, pass-fail, pass. Pass means when your time comes for a new contract, you become the highest-paid player in the NFL at the position. That doesn't work anymore. That doesn't happen anymore. So I think what needs to happen is teams need to be willing to say, you're not top tier. You fall into this tier. Here's what we're willing to pay you. And if you don't like it, we're going to find another quarterback. We're going to go in a different direction. We'll go out and draft a new quarterback. We'll sign somebody. We'll have a Band-Aid for a year or two. That's the dilemma the Vikings are going to face with Kirk Cousins after this year, because he's going to want a significant bump over what he's currently getting. The market will support it. But is he good enough to truly justify it? Is he going to take the Vikings where they're trying to go? That's the challenge, though, because you let go of the bird in the hand in search of the two in the bush. You may end up with none, and you may end up taking a backslide and then waiting to bottom out in the hopes that you can draft that franchise quarterback, get the most out of him under his rookie deal, and then deal with the fact that you have to pay him a lot of money if you choose to do so, if he ends up becoming the guy that you hope he was going to be. Dilip Rao, while I agree completely about the most current players not striking over future benefits that may or may not accrue to them, what about striking for fully guaranteed pay? That would affect them immediately. Fully guaranteed pay is something that arose in baseball and basketball without a CBA term. It just kind of happened. And there are some agents, players, people in the union trying to make it more universal in the NFL. There would be very strong unintended consequences from fully guaranteed contracts across the board. What would happen is contracts would be shorter. Now, that may be better for players, but players who want to stay in a certain place, you're doing 1 year at a time or 2 years at a time. If you want fully guaranteed contracts, they're not going to give you 5, 6 years. If all contracts are fully guaranteed, all contracts become shorter, and you're going to have a lot more movement every single year. And hey, that's good for my business. Free agency becomes more robust. Every 2 or 3 years, the best players in the NFL become available. Sign me up for that. But is that really in everyone's best interest? And they're also going to pay less if these contracts are all fully guaranteed. So I don't know that that's the answer to anything. And I don't think that whatever it is the union would be looking for, to answer the question, whatever the union would be looking for, I don't think the current rank and file, I don't think football players are wired to care enough about that to give up what they have right now. Even if it's going to help them next year, they don't want to give up what they have right now. And the point I made earlier in the week, let's play it out. Players strike for a full year. No football for a full year. Then the following year, the strike is over. Everyone's back. And here comes the crop of draft picks and undrafted free agents who played football last year, who may be in a better position to win roster spots over the guys who sat out all year, who are still making more money than these guys at the bottom of the roster. Could you see multiple teams decide, we're just going to go with a youth movement this year? We're going to get rid of all these guys who sat around doing nothing last year, refusing to play football, striking at a time when we had an offer on the table that was fair. It's another thing that you need to be concerned about when you consider the possibility of shutting it down for a full year. Again, it makes the playing field not equal. And I think the NFL could frankly go even harder in its effort to try to get better terms than it has. I think the NFL is sensitive to not throwing things completely out of whack. That's why it's so important that the union have an executive director who can go toe-to-toe with the league to try to even out the playing field or at a minimum maintain the imbalance that currently exists. I need to take a break here soon. One more. Not a break. I need to take a break till the next time we do PFT PM. Paul Belwig. Should the NFL consider bringing back the World League or maybe the XFL or USFL? Should look into Europe. Seems like a great concept for a spring league and international expansion. It's too expensive. That's why the NFL stopped doing it. They weren't making a profit from it. Are these spring leagues making a profit? I don't know that they are yet. I think the XFL has some projections about when they'll actually start turning a profit. Bottom line is spring football is not a profitable enterprise. If it was, the NFL would still be in it. The NFL got out of it because they finally said, why are we spending all this money? We don't need a developmental league. There's still 53 roster spots. What do we care if another Kurt Warner could have come out of NFL Europe? There's going to be somebody else who emerges from what we currently do. We don't need to spend all this money. We don't need to operate in the red just in the hope that we're going to trip over somebody, because it's still 53 guys on each team. Somebody's going to get the reps. Somebody's going to emerge. We don't have to create this separate environment, this incubator for maybe somebody who never would have made it under the current structure of the NFL. They emerge and their career is fueled by that. It's still got to be a good business model or they're not going to do it. That's why they haven't done it. One last one from MTTB. Any idea why Sky Sports have stopped showing? Yes, I have a very good idea. And I thought we've been over this. PFT Live is on hiatus. There is no show to show until July 27, when we'll be back. Until then, it's PFT PM. I'm 8 for 8 in the weekdays that we have been off of PFT Live. Tomorrow, I will not be doing it because it's annual physical time, as previously mentioned. Friday, I intend to do one. Next week, we'll see how things go with the 4th of July and all of that. The following week, I'm going to be on vacation at an undisclosed location. Maybe I'll do some from there. We'll see. But before you know it, we'll be back on Sky because we'll be back in our studios making PFT Live on a daily basis. Thanks as always for some of your time. We'll do this again on Friday. Enjoy your Wednesday, enjoy your Thursday, and keep checking us out around the clock at the new and improved ProFootballTalk.com. You will get used to it. I already have. Hopefully you will too. See you Friday. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.